Hello and welcome to episode 96 of the Life in Recovery podcast with me, John Loxley. I hope you're doing well out there. This episode of the podcast is with Jersey Ed, who is from the Friends in Recovery podcast, which I recently guested on. As always, it was a fantastic conversation. Loved chatting with Ed. Could have carried on the conversation for many hours. So I hope you enjoy listening to this conversation as much as I enjoyed speaking with Ed.
Hi, everybody. Ed, alcoholic and addict and friend in recovery. And John, thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. And, I'm just going to get right into my story here and just kind of give you my experience, strength, and hopes. I don't really dwell on all the shit. Can I say shit here?
Of course you can.
I don't dwell on all the shit in the past because we all know, what we did. My story isn't really too much different than the other people down the road. We just end up in the same spot. We end up in the recovery spot. The lucky ones end up in the recovery spot, I must say. Yeah. The ones that don't get it, or the ones that may take too long to get it, death is probably an option now, for first and foremost, unfortunately. And I'm blessed not to have that option today. Will death come? Yeah, eventually, but not the way that I was, the way I was going. So just to give you kind of a little background of myself, grew up in Jersey. I am a New York Yankees fan. I don't know if you guys know anything about baseball over here, but I am a New York Yankees fan. I got the tattoo to prove it. And so that's where I grew up. That's why my nickname is Jersey Ed. And grew up in a normal kind of household family. Had a great mom that was codependent, had a great dad that was a drunk, and boom, there you go. Need I say more? But it's very dysfunctional in my household and very, kind of unsettling with my dad drinking all the time. My mom always claiming that we never have any money. My dad had a very successful business. But he was always drinking it away. So I guess we really never had money. So, if I wanted my dad, I'd go to the bar. I knew exactly where it was. He was at the Red Top, bar, and that's where we went in Sayreville, New Jersey. Now I'm going to throw something at you here, John. Sayreville, New Jersey, probably nobody, maybe somebody's heard. Have you ever heard of Sayreville, New Jersey?
No.
Well, did you hear of a little band called Bon Jovi?
Yeah.
Okay, now you know Sayreville, New Jersey. That's where he grew up. That's where I grew up. I went to the same school as his brother. I didn't know John at all, but I knew his brother Tony. Not well, just going to school with him, just passing in the hallways. But that was it. So a little bar.
That little band, Bon Jovi.
A little band, Bon Jovi. Yeah, listen. If I had hair like him, I'd have all the money like him too. But I decided not to have the hair.
He'd probably be dead now, definitely.
Probably would be. Yeah. So, but he does a lot for New Jersey. He does a lot for the community. So thank God for him. He does a great job in New Jersey. So, and that's in the States, of course. But, so this little bar in Sayreville, New Jersey, it was my home. My dad would pick us up from school. We went to a Catholic school, normal Catholic school, pick us up, and we'd sit at the bar. John, I had burgers for dinner. I had French fries. I had chicken wings. We had pickles at the bar. It was cool sitting at the bar. There was a phone booth. Some of your listeners may not even know what a phone booth is, but there's a phone booth there, a pinball machine, a pool table, and get this, a bowling alley, a 5-lane bowling alley. Beautiful. What more could a fifth grader ask for, right?
Not much.
Right? Spending time with your dad, all this stuff. But little did I know, he was there to drink, not to be with me. And that's where the confusion, I guess, got into my head. I have two sisters too, where the confusion got in my head saying, okay, so this is how life is supposed to be. This is how dads and sons are supposed to get together. I'll be honest with you, John, I never played baseball with my dad. I never threw a pitch to him. We never tossed a football that I can remember anyways. So I never had that experience. I had the bar experience. Now I hold that near and dear to me now because that's all I have of my dad. My dad passed away on my birthday, Jesus, 7, 8 years ago. So, but you know, I hold that near and dear to me now because that's the only memories I have of him. You know, I mean, obviously, as I grew up, there was other memories of him drinking and all that, but they were the fun memories, you know. But little did I know that was going to take me into a different world of addiction, different world of not being a good family man, a different world of not being a good dad. You know, and that's kind of where that took me later on in my life. But
Did
kind
your
of
dad, sorry to just interrupt you, did your dad die from alcoholism, or did he just different?
he passed away in his sleep. He had a stroke, and he didn't have a stroke and die of the stroke. He had a stroke and he lived for 7 years after the stroke, but he never problem was he never took care of himself. He did stop drinking. The doctor told him to stop drinking, but you know as well as I know, John, if we can stop drinking, but if we keep those, behaviors still going, it's still not good behavior,
Yeah.
So they ended up finding him dead in Florida in his bedroom. He was in a nursing home with no money, the typical drunk story. He ended up going from making a ton of money way up here all the way down to a nursing home that was taking all his inheritance from my grandmother just so he can have a little room, and then he died in the room, unfortunately. And that's where alcohol takes everybody, guys. That's where it takes you. That's where alcohol. I don't want to tell you where the heroin takes us. You know what I mean? Thank God that's not part of my story. I never got into that, but I'm more the drunk. So just the fond memories of my dad and all that, and then the dysfunction of my household when my mom asked my dad to leave. I was in 8th grade. Get ready for this one, guys, because this is going to be a bestseller one day. My best friend moves in and marries my mother. I swear to God, I am not making it up. I swear, I'm not making it up. When he was my best friend's brother, but we had this clique. He was part of this clique, and one day him and I and all the guys are throwing footballs around. Next day, Gino, you want to come out and throw a football? No, I'm going to do the dishes for your mom. I'm like, oh, all right. That's a little weird, but okay. We're still playing football, 6th, 7th grade, playing football, 8th grade. He was about 4 or 5 years older than me. So my mom was legal. Okay, everybody. So I think he's a little over 18, but he was in that clique of ours. You know what I mean? And then you want to talk about getting fucked up, and getting, kind of like this guy is now in my house where my dad used to be. Granted, not that dad was the best father in the world, but hey, a dad's a dad, man. You can't, you can't kind of switch them up and have a better dad. You only get one. And then next thing I know, he's in the bed with my mom, so it got really, really weird. So unfortunately that didn't go well. So at the age of 17, him and I duked it out. We beat the shit out of each other. And I left the house. And of course, drinking the whole while and all that. So
I wouldn't have expected anything less, to be fair.
It wouldn't. Yes, exactly. But I was not the best kid in the world. Let's make mention of that. I was drinking, smoking pot, sneaking out, just doing everything that I thought was right that a teenage kid should do, but it wasn't, unfortunately. And I was acting out. I was looking for attention, the whole 9 yards. And I didn't want to be there. That just was not a safe place for me anymore, So I ended up moving into my grandmother's house. Before I moved into my grandmother's house, I ended up moving into a trailer at my best friend's house. We had a great time, man. We had parties every night. His mom really had no clue what was going on. We had somebody buy us beer all the time. He plugged the camper in, so we had a refrigerator, we had electricity, we had everything. And then she found out I was living there after a couple months, and I got kicked out. So got some stability at my grandmother's house, which was cool. But she was also she wasn't one of us, but she should have been one of us. And she drank a lot, and she was pretty strict about things. Had to go to school, which sucked. I mean, but hey, 17, 18, I guess you have to go to school. And then, but I did my thing, start getting to cocaine early on too. I'm an 80s kid. Not that I have any 80s hair left, but I'm an 80s kid. So a lot of cocaine, a lot of booze, a lot of, just big hair. heavy metal bands. That's what my life was when I was in my early days. So I didn't graduate from high school, drank all the time in high school, the typical stuff. I don't, just kind of the typical insert story here and, equals drunk out here, and, but, I didn't graduate. I made it through high school. I did take a summer course when I graduated. My grandfather, one thing that John, that really helped me through up until this day, actually. My grandfather was a very hard worker, and my dad was a hard worker. I came from a family of very, very hard workers. My grandfather worked in a factory in New Jersey, in Saraville, New Jersey, for 45 years. Did his whole thing there. Probably never missed a day. Was just a hard worker. So I got that from him. He instilled that work ethic into me. So probably about the age of 18, he wanted me to get a job at the factory. I was like, yeah, more money to go party. And because listen, man, back then, 18 and a factory job, man, you were making some big money, I mean, and so I got I got the interview. I went in, got the job, and I had to go for the drug test way back when they were doing drug tests. And I partied the whole weekend. And I was supposed to go on Monday to drug test. I'm thinking to myself, oh shit, man, I'm done. There's no way, right? There's just no way. I disgraced my family. So I'm in there taking a drug test. And because we were working with nitrocellulose, which was a very highly flammable material. So I guess that's why they drug test, because most places never drug test way back when. But lo and behold, I got the job. I passed my drug test. I was like, yeah, this is cool.
Youth.
And the cocaine never showed up, nothing. I was like, this is great. This is going to be a great job. So I worked the overnights. I got drunk during the day, the whole typical stuff. Then I met a woman who turned out to be my first wife. And she was perfect for my addiction. When you're searching out for a partner or whatever in whatever part of your life you're at, you're going to attract that. And I was just attract, not that she was a bad person, but I couldn't see me being with somebody like that today because of the recovery piece, but that's who she was. And we got attracted, had kids very early on. I had my first kid when I was 21 years old. I have 4 kids and 1 stepdaughter. I have 7 grandkids today that I'm very proud of. Life is good now, but yeah. And I'm 35. I don't know how I did that, but
still looking good as well.
Thanks. I'm lying. I'm 36, but
the first wife, I'm guessing, was probably of the codependent ilk as well, and easily manipulated and controlled by you. Yeah. I'm only saying that because I relate, because that's exactly my story too.
Yeah. Well, that we attract each other, like the good ones aren't going to come looking for me, like I got a pile of cocaine and a bunch of beer. You want to party? Well, the normal ones are in college, wanting a degree and want to go, they stayed far away from me, but she was a good kid, but it just didn't work out. Did some stupid stuff, did what a typical addict alcoholic would do. If you don't like what you're doing, you just replace it with something or somebody else, and got caught. And that's how it went. At that time, she was pregnant. We had 3 kids, and she was pregnant with our 4th kid. Kicked me out of the house. I was 27 years old. Actually, she found me at the girlfriend's house. I'll be honest with you. She picked me up at the girlfriend's house. Her and my mom came down and picked me up at the girlfriend's house. And I just had to admit to it. I knew there was something wrong. I knew, like, when I woke up that morning, I called her and I told her what was going on. And I knew there was something wrong. I didn't know what it was. I mean, everybody knew that it was alcoholism and a drug problem, but we're usually the last ones to know. Let's be honest, and I told her the truth. And back then I thought it was the right thing, and today I know it was the right thing. But but when I had to get picked up by my mom and my wife at my girlfriend's house, when you're in that car or an hour ride home, sometimes most of the time I was thinking it was not the right fucking thing to say.
Take it back. I take it back.
Yeah, exactly. I swear it's my sister.
And I've not got a drink problem.
Exactly. But anyway, but you know what? Unfortunately, that time it didn't stick. She took me back. Here's the thing. I wanted her back. I wanted the kids back. I wanted my old life back, not realizing I would have got my old life back, and not realizing I needed a new life. Somebody asked me, they in one, because we do a Friends in Recovery, we do a bunch of Friends in Recovery meetings, 2 a day, 7 days a week, noon and 7 p.m. Eastern time. And I'm on the meetings. I was just on one today. I'm always on the meetings, but somebody asked me, would you ever want to go back before you started drinking and be that normal person? I'm thinking to myself, hell no, because I was never fucking normal, man. This is the closest to normal I've ever had, is being in a program, being in recovery. This is the closest that I think what normal is. I don't even know what normal is. I have a bunch of books back here. I can see if I can find one of the normal handbook, but I don't think we're going to find one. But
the book that says the handbook for life.
Yes, exactly. Yes. If I find it, I'll mail you a copy. If you find one, send me a copy. So
definitely. I've been looking for it for quite some time.
I know. So,
although all jokes aside, I mean, for an alcoholic, the Alcoholics Anonymous big book kind of is that,
You're right. Yes.
It's like when that book was written, God bless their souls, back in the 30s. I don't think they had any idea. What what they were writing really. And I mean, I've over the years, I've done a lot of kind of research into the writing of the book, and I've done a lot of research into kind of addiction myself, because I work in the field, and also a lot of research into kind of spirituality. And what it seems is that they kind of they took all the spiritual knowledge available to them at the time from everywhere they could possibly get that information from, and just put it all together in this one program, which was just complete and utter genius.
It's just amazing. And think about it, they didn't have the meetings like we have today. Well, now we have Zoom and everything, but even let's go before Zoom, and I know we're getting off the subject here, but this is a great topic. I love this. I love talking about the big book and everything, but they didn't have all the resources, all the meetings. They had to go from house to house and figure out, like, where's the next meeting going to be? And they weren't at noon and 7 p.m. every fucking night. They were when they can scrap people together and figure it out. And they came up with this amazing book that still probably hasn't changed much in all these years now. 83 years. I think Founders Day was just passed. I think it's 83.
Yeah. And and I kind of subscribe to the viewpoint that it shouldn't change either, because I think that there's plenty of interpretations out there of it. It isn't like, if you really, really, really disagreed with the language in there, you could take it and like make your own version and just change the words if that's what you needed to do. But like the kind of original text as it is, I think that it just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? Everything in there is absolutely spot on.
Yeah. Well, as we say in the meetings, I'm not sure if you guys say it there. It works if you work it.
Yeah.
So work it, you're worth it, right? I mean, that's what it does. And those guys in the past trailblazed for people like us and people who are listening to the podcast, so we can have a clearer path, so we can not take the easier, softer way, but don't have to struggle as much as the old timers did. Don't have to really, not put the work into it, because we do have to put a lot of work into it, but that trail was blazed for us, and we just have to follow it. And if we follow that trail and we do everything, if I do everything my sponsor suggests to me, because he did everything his sponsor suggests him, and so on and so on and so on, you probably linear it all the way back to Bill. I know where I'm going. I have a roadmap because of that book. I have a life because of that book. I know at any given moment where my life is going. If I'm an asshole, I know where it's going. If I'm, I know where that road's going. If I'm a good person, I do good deeds. Or if I just stay status quo, if I push it harder, or if I push it less, I know where I'm going because of that book. That book gives me the roadmap to my future. It really does.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing I disagree with, not that you've said it, but I disagree with some people that say in recovery is that the only thing that you need is everything that's in the first 164 pages. I believe that there's a lot of other good stuff out there. You know, there's a lot of good texts out there that you can read and that can really like broaden your horizons. And because I mean, I kind of in my early years in recovery, I kind of stuck to just the big book, and then I started to branch out, you know, and look at other programs and other like writing from other kind of teachers and stuff, and I've learned loads of stuff, and I've also been through the 12 steps in various other fellowships that do it slightly differently, and again learn, you know, I mentioned on your podcast actually that I joined a new fellowship, Emotions Anonymous, and
that's right.
And I've just been through the 12 steps in that fellowship, and I went through it quite quickly, really, like over about the space of a month.
Wow, okay.
And it was, you know, massively helpful. You know, it wasn't the same as when I did the steps, you know, years ago. It was completely different, and it was done in a different way, but it was brilliant. You know.
Yep, absolutely.
There isn't a one size fits all, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say.
No. And I do agree with you about the first 165 pages. What is it? 100? Was that it? It's 165, 180, 164. My brain isn't working. I'm moving. I'm doing. It's just like I'm like I don't even know if I have a big book anymore. It's probably packed in one of the 1,000 boxes in the other room. So, but in the first 90 to even the first year, maybe even the first 2 years, stick to that rule. Hands down, stick to it, because you don't need to know anything else. You really don't.
That's very true.
You don't need to know anything else. Once you get out of the fog and once you clear up, then you can take that knowledge, you know, and that knowledge for me being all these, you know, a few 24s under my belt, I'm branching out into, you know, spirituality, you know, and I know it sounds a little quirky, whatever, Tony Robbins and different stuff like that, where
life coaching stuff,
life coaching, all that stuff. Yeah. And it's helping my recovery immensely, you know, immensely. So, and I even had a spiritual awakening in recovery last year. And, you know, my spiritual awakening is, I went to a Tony Robbins conference in Palm Beach, Florida. It was probably a year and a half ago, and literally right before the pandemic. And I had a lot of I wasn't on a relapse mode. I was just in a bad spot. We all get in bad spots once in a while. And I didn't know how to get out of this one. My best friend just died. He was actually my employer also. You know, I work for a small little tiny treatment center down in Florida. And, you know, him and I knew him for the last 16 years of my life, and he died of brain cancer, and it was horrible to watch, you know. And then, you know, is my job safe? You know, who's taking over, the whole 9 yards? And it's fine. Everything worked out fine. But, I didn't want to be alive at some point, you know, right before the pandemic. And I went to this Tony Robbins, workshop and kind of turned everything around, you know, And thank God, because 2 weeks later, boom, the pandemic hit and I was locked in my house. So if you're telling me, there's not a God, I'd have to disagree, or a higher power, because I could have not set that up more perfectly. You know, I don't know if I would kill myself. I don't know if I would have off myself, but I'm telling you, I would have been a miserable fuck, you know, and really, I mean, it just, you know, but that really turned my life around. So that's some of the, I guess, offshoot stuff that I would definitely recommend. But like we said earlier, stick to those first 164 pages, the first couple of years or whatever, you know, whatever it is. So, and then if you want to branch out into anything, go into the stories, into the big book, you know.
Yeah, and also there's the 12 and 12. I mean, when I went through the program the first time with my first sponsor, I mean, he took me through the 164 and the 12 and 12 at the same time, because he felt as though the 12 and 12 really broke down and explained each step, and that really worked for me. Like I really appreciated that, and I felt like I really understood each step. I mean, And to be honest with you, Ed, I haven't had the most conventional of recoveries. I've shared on this podcast quite a few times that like I've even been, due to the research that I did for my first book, Addiction Prevention, back in 2015, I've even been down the psychedelic route, similar to Bill Wilson, because I know he did some experiments with LSD. And I've used ayahuasca and also psilocybin once each over the last few years. Okay. And they were two of the greatest spiritual experiences I've had, so, it definitely isn't a one size fits all. And there's lots of avenues out there, but you just mentioned the crucial thing for me, and I want to talk about that, which is a higher power. For me, and this was the reason why I went down the psychedelic route, was because due to my research, I wanted to understand whether that was an option for people who were finding it difficult to find a higher power. And what I discovered through that mode of spirituality was that absolutely, if you can't find a higher power and that's something that you're looking to investigate, well, it cemented it. At the time that I did my first ayahuasca ceremony, I was like already convinced that there was a higher power, but I had no kind of tangible evidence of it, I suppose. And that experience just completely blew my mind, and I was like, right, I am totally and utterly convinced now. And today it's like I don't question it. I just know that there is a power greater than myself. It's as simple as that. How did your kind of faith come about?
So I'm Catholic, was raised Catholic school, the whole 9 yards. So the faith was always there. It was more book faith, more of, Sister Nadine beating me with a ruler or pulling my hair or whatever, that's kind of how it was. But my faith today, my understanding of God today is way different than my Catholic school upbringing, way different than what God looks like. I don't have anybody telling me what a God is. I can just create or understand. I don't even create. I should understand my own higher power without a nun or a priest or somebody telling me this is what you have to have. And it's not just the, take the hosts, the body of Christ, blah, 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 confess your sins because you're a piece of shit. And then you become better when you're, when you get out of that box and blah, blah, blah. And that's it. I don't believe any of that stuff. I don't believe in broken human beings, number one. I don't believe that there's such thing as a broken human being. Maybe we went a little off path, but a broken human being is tough. So if you're telling me that I'm sinning and I'm broken and I have to go confess something to somebody, another human being, I get it. I know that's part of our 12 steps, but my God, of my understanding, I confess to him or her or being every morning. I get on my knees every morning, John, and I thank God for what I have. I thank God for, I was just sharing a meeting today. I said, I don't know if I pray right. There's no book saying pray this way. Well, there are books saying pray this way, but is that right or is that wrong? I don't know, man. This works for me. It kept me sober the way I've been doing it all these years, and I'm not saying to do it the way I do it, but this is how I do it. And this is how I stay sober, spiritually, mentally, financially, and I'm kind of happy. I'm kind of healthy as far as that goes. I'm not the richest person. I'm not the happiest person. I'm not the fittest person in the world, but I'm somewhere in between. I'm good with everything. And it's because of my higher power. It's because of my higher power, not what Father Bob told me or Sister Nadine told me. It's what I came up with. And that's when I realized that I can talk to my God the way I want to. If I want to say the Our Father, if I want to say act of contrition, if I want to say this, that's fine. But I can say, hey, God, I'm fucked up today. Help me. How do I get out of this one? Or how do I just get out of this feeling the way I'm feeling? Or, hey, just want to send out a little prayer for so-and-so over there, I was never told to pray that way. And now the way I pray, it just elevated my recovery hugely. So I think roundabout answer. Sorry about that.
That's good. I think that's the genius of the program, isn't it? Is the fact that we can have our own higher power. Like that's what it says, doesn't it? It says find your own higher power. And you know, like once you found that, like you essentially, you know, you're constructing in your mind what your idea of your own higher power is, and whether that's real or not, it doesn't really make any difference because it works. You know, if you're staying sober a day at a time or staying clean a day at a time, then it's clearly working. How did you end up in the fellowships then? So what was kind of your rock bottom?
So as I was saying before, with the wife picking me up from the girlfriend's house, blah blah blah. I'm like, I remember my dad's drunk friend saying, if you ever get in trouble, and he was a womanizer too. If you ever get into trouble and you're quote doing something you shouldn't be doing, tell them you want to go to rehab. So that's stuck in the back of my brain. I didn't even know what rehab was. I had no idea. So I said, yeah, I want to go to this hospital. I want to go to that. So the wife drove me to the hospital. 2 days I was in there. I was like, I got this. Signed myself out, AMA, and boom, off to the races again. I did get her back. We did do our thing. And I was with her for about a year and a half, drinking like an animal. I convinced her that I was okay to drink and do cocaine again. And, you know, girlfriend came back in and I got everything back. I got my old life back. You know, I got I got what I wanted back. I didn't get the new life, you know? And so a year and a half later, she picks me up again from the girlfriend's house. And I was like, we got to stop meeting here. This is not good. But I just said I had enough. And I knew that was it. I knew I was done. I knew, you know, I had that spiritual awakening. I knew at that point that drinking was my problem. I knew at that point that cocaine was my problem. You know, 4 kids at home, everything, you know, just living at my mom's house on government assistance, eating with government cheese and you know, just spending money like crazy. I knew there was something wrong. And the minute I got to that hospital, it wasn't easy. You know, I mean, I struggled at the beginning, but I knew I had to stay sober. Got out of the hospital about 5 weeks later. And rehab wasn't like it is today. You know what I mean? I had a tough stay at the rehab. You know, I didn't have all these fancy beddings and all that. I had a hospital bed. So, but I ended up just getting sober because of that last stent and that last bottom, I guess. You know, that's kind of how I got sober. So.
What did you kind of early days of recovery look like for you then? Were you kind of the alcoholic who kind of like got into it, did the work, or were you like fucking about and, you know, not kind of getting into it initially?
No, I did the work. I was too scared. I'm telling you, John, March 10th, 1994 was my sobriety date. I knew that I wasn't going to pick up again. I mean, granted, I don't project that. I don't say that's going to happen, but I kind of knew that I was not going to pick up. So to protect myself, knowing that I don't want to pick up anymore, I jumped into it wholeheartedly. Counseling, therapy. The other thing too, I'll be honest with you, I still wanted my wife back. I still didn't grasp that the wife was part. I don't say she's the problem, but she was part of the cycle of the problem. And, I still wanted her back. So I was going to this meeting in South River, New Jersey on Tuesday night at 7:30 called the Fog Lifters. And there was 3 meetings. Now, it was a smoking meeting. The whole church, everybody smoked in the church everywhere, in the auditorium, in the classrooms. We smoked everywhere. That's how crazy it was way back when. So it broke up into 3 meetings. One was a speaker meeting every Tuesday night in the big auditorium. A second was a step meeting. I didn't know what a step meeting was at the time. I didn't get into the steps too early on into my recovery. And the third was a beginner's meeting. I'm like, this is cool. We can, get into this. So every Tuesday night, I would go there and complain about not complain, but talk about, I want my wife back. I want my wife back. I want my wife back. And they always had an old timer chairing the meeting. And we sat in those little tiny kid chairs, we were sitting like this. And every time I raised my hand, I still haven't got my wife back, and raise my hand next week. Oh, I still haven't got this, oh, I want my wife back. So after about a year of, I guess, people hearing this, the old timer that was chairing, as I raised my hand, I said, yeah, I don't have my wife back yet. I think it's pretty close, which it wasn't. He's like, Ed, shut the fuck up. You're not going to get her back. I was like, what? I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, why am I coming to these meetings? And that's when I knew, right? That's when I knew that guy was right. I was pissed. I was angry. I didn't like what he told me, but it was the truth. That's what he told me. He told me the truth. And he also told me, if you get her back, you're going to get everything else back. And I got scared. And I didn't want everything else back. I wanted the wife back, but I didn't want everything else back.
You wanted the wife, not the life.
Yeah, exactly. So little did I know, I have a beautiful wife now. I'm married 3 times, but my wife now, we've been together 15 years, and I couldn't even pick out a better wife. Ups and downs, good times, bad times. She wants to divorce me. I want to divorce her. It's, in our heads, but that's how it goes. That's how life goes, and that's the other thing the program taught me. There's no perfection in this world. There's no happily ever after. We're, like I said, we're in the middle of moving, and if you move, my suggestion is put a boxing ring in the middle of your house and have at it, because it'll help with the frustrations and the anxiety and all that. It might work out better, because moving is very stressful, amongst everybody. And, we've been here 15 years, but the program told me it's time to move on. It's time to start another life somewhere. It's time to, my youngest daughter's is going to college, and
is she in recovery, your wife now, or not?
She is not. No. She does work for Genesis House, where I work for, and we've been working for Genesis House for the last 16 years. She knows addiction inside and out. I put her through a couple of craziness. She understands it through me and some family members, but she's really, really good as far as recovery goes. She's one of the best in the business, helping people get into treatment. So cool. I'm blessed on that half. So, but yeah, so that's kind of how it went. And my life now is so good, John. I mean, I can't complain, do I have issues? Do I have problems? Of course I do, but I know how to deal with them now. Do I have stress, anxiety? Yeah, I do. I got a lot of that. I went through 2 businesses in recovery, 2 wives, countless people dying in my life, but I didn't drink over any of it. I was told, if you stay sober a minute at a time, a day at a time, you'll get through whatever the problems are, and those problems way back when I was drinking and using, I don't even know what they were. And at the time, they were the worst things in the world. And I would drink about them. I'd use over them. And you know what I mean? Now I couldn't tell you one problem I had way back when I was drinking,
Well, it's life's just a grind, isn't it? And one of the kind of like epiphanies that I've had recently, like building on what you've just said, is that the problem has always been the same problem forever. And that is just simply me. That's all it is, It's just it's all about my reactions to my emotions, to what's going on inside. Cause those emotions and the thoughts and everything, that they're like, they've been the same forever. It's always like, I need some new clothes, or I need I don't like the way that I look, or I need some new trainers, or like, I want to do this, or I need, whatever the thing. It's always about me.
Yes.
Me. And that's just what's been going on forever. So recovery's taught me to just flip that and start thinking about other people. And it never became more apparent than when my daughter was born, because, 15 months ago when she came into the world, obviously you have that total perception shift, don't you? Where you're like, Jesus Christ, like, now she is the focus.
Yes.
She's everybody's focus, and she's my focus. And it's like, the stuff that seemed important just doesn't seem important anymore.
No, absolutely not.
It's the transition, isn't it? It's the 180-degree turn from selfishness to selflessness.
Yes.
In varying degrees, like as best as you can be on any given day, I suppose. That's kind of my take on it.
Yeah, no, and I have to agree with you 100%, but you were in recovery when she came around, right?
Yeah, because I've been in recovery since 2010. So it's,
okay, good.
Yeah. So I mean, it's everything happens as it's supposed to, doesn't it? Everything happens for a reason. Like I got an old girlfriend pregnant when I was how old was I? I think I was like my mid-20s, and that didn't work out. And I'm just very thankful that it didn't, because I'd have been a father at a similar age to you then. Probably, I think I was about 24, 25, maybe a bit younger. And I just think, Jesus Christ, like at that time I was like getting drunk and threatening to throw myself off bridges and that kind of stuff, So I was definitely not daddy material, that's for sure.
No. And I was definitely not daddy material either. Even when I got to recovery, it wasn't daddy material. It's tough. And I even when they're born, even when you have a good head on you, again, it's a tough life, to have a baby. It's a tough life. To key thing you said, the focus is off of me and now on the baby. Everything's for the baby. And I don't care what mind frame you're in, you're not 100% ready for that. And it's tough, but you know what? But because we're in recovery, we can adapt much quicker. We can have the less poor me time and the less, all about me and more about them, and adapt to it and move on and never look back, as long as we stay sober, and
absolutely.
That's the most important part of it.
What does life in recovery mean to you then, Ed?
Life in recovery means to me, happy, joyous, and free. That's what it means to me. I mean, I really don't have anything more to say about that. It's just happy, joyous, and free. And just being sober is just giving me a whole new world, a whole new outlook on life, a whole new perspective. And also I'm learning more. And I don't know if it's a thing as you get older. I thought as you get older, you slow down. I don't want to run marathons. I run ultra marathons. I'm in this thing called YLR. It's Build Your Life's Resume with somebody here in the States, Jesse. It's Eisler. And I'm doing a 100-mile kayak trip down the Delaware River here in the States. I've never been on a kayak before. I think I have an hour and a half in a kayak. Yesterday I'm trying to pack the shit in a kayak and trying to get all my stuff. I look at it and I'm like, holy fuck, I got to spend 5 days in this thing. But you know what? It's okay because I can take chances. I can do things. I would never do that when I was drinking, or I would never even do that if I, my sponsor, like-minded people, like we make ourselves do things to improve ourselves. Of course it's going to be painful. Of course I'm not going to be in my bed. I'm not going to be in my warm, comfy house. I bought a tent. I never owned a tent in my life, and I bought a tent. But that's what makes us grow, guys. Early recovery, huge growth in early recovery if you do it right. I mean, huge growth if you do it wrong too, you can grow either way, but also then you get complacent and you stop growing. And I didn't want that. I didn't want my stop growing anymore. I wanted to keep growing. So I turned it around again and I said, let's just do it. Whatever it is, let's just go out there and grab it. I'm 55 years old and, I don't plan to stop. I really don't. I plan on helping people for the rest of my life. I plan on being active, eating healthy. I'm a vegetarian. And that's something I decided throughout the pandemic. And I enjoy being a vegetarian. I'm not a vegan. I'll eat cheese here and there because some of that vegetables need some fucking cheese on it so I can get it down. But overall, I do love, I do miss eating meat. Okay. I really do. I feel like a nice big steak on a grill, a shitty old hot dog and a crappy old bun and squirt some ketchup on it. But I stand for something now, John. Because of Alcoholics Anonymous, because of my program, I can say, you know what? I don't need to eat meat because of what they do to the animals. They're never going to stop killing animals. They're never going to stop packaging them because Ed Chancho stopped fucking eating them. But I'm standing for something. And that's what recovery taught me. I can stand. Sorry, getting a little emotional. Get emotional because I have my own thoughts of my own life now. Never had that when I was using. I was a slave to the motherfucking drug and drink. Now I'm not. So I can't get emotional. But I stand for something now. I stand for that, that I choose not to do that today. And it's okay.
You're looking good for it as well, my friend.
Thanks, sir.
Well, I've got 2 more questions for you, Ed.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
First one is, how did you meet the Podfather?
So if anybody doesn't know, watch our show. I guess you have your shows, your show up that you did. So the Podfather is on Friends in Recovery. So the Podfather, I just met him through the business. He's a retired police officer here in the States. And we at our treatment center, we work with first responders, and he was referring people to us, and we were helping him get sober. And when you're in business development, you take people out to lunch, you say hello, drop them off coffee, shake hand, whatever. He always wanted to smoke a cigar, so that's how I got into smoking cigars. If you watch some of our early shows on Friends in Recovery, we're in his studio smoking cigars, and we ended up smoking a cigar one day, and he goes, "You want to go upstairs?" I'm like, "Fuck you talking about upstairs, Mike? I've been coming here for 10 years and there's no upstairs." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "There's a podcast studio upstairs." I'm like, "What the hell's a podcast?" He's like, "Yeah, just go up there." So we go up. There's a gorgeous, it's this gorgeous studio. If you guys look back in some of our shows on YouTube, it's this gorgeous studio that we had. And that's how him and I just kind of hit it off. And he kind of said, "I'm the Podfather." I'm like, "Okay, that's cool. You're the Podfather." And we've been doing shows as him, the Podfather, as all these years. So that's how I met Mike, just through the business. Mike's in recovery. Fabulous man that helps anybody and everybody. He goes way above and beyond. He's just an amazing person.
Awesome. That's wicked. Yeah. And the final question is,
sure.
If you had one piece of advice to give anybody that was listening to this, that was kind of struggling or thinking about making a change, what would you say?
Oof. Okay. Don't quit before the miracle happens, guys. The old old Japanese proverb, fall down 7, get up 8. Seriously, right? Get up 8. Because we don't know when that time we're going to get up, and when's the right time going to be,
Yeah.
Don't give up, guys. I guess what I'm saying is, please just don't give up, because death is an option when we're doing this. Especially with the heroin and all the fentanyl and all the crazy. I don't know what you guys have over in the UK, but
all of it, yeah.
When we were growing up, I don't know what you use, but if it was alcohol, we kill ourselves slowly. With the fentanyl, you one shot and you're done, man. You're completely done. So if there's anything I can tell anybody out there, is don't give up. Push through this pain. And there's a lot of pain. I had the pain. Just because I'm telling you the story and I'm laughing, everything's good, doesn't mean I didn't have the pain way back when. Doesn't mean I didn't want to quit. Doesn't mean that I wanted to give up. Doesn't mean I want to go drink and put it all away. No, it was there. The pain was all there. Just like some of you guys are going through now. It's there. It was there. But I have the story where I can say I got through it, and I learned. I pushed through that pain. I learned, guys. When you push through pain, you get through it, and then you get your education, and you get your understanding of what that pain was for. So,
and the rewards are endless, aren't they?
Oh, certainly. Yeah, certainly. Absolutely. So
beautiful, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
Having a conversation with you. And where can we find you online? Where can my listeners find you guys?
So you can find us at genesishouse.net. And if you go under connections, all of our shows are on there. Or you can drop us an email at help@friendsinrecoverypodcast.com. Facebook page too, Friends in Recovery Communities on Facebook, Friends in Recovery Adventures on Facebook. Stop by, say hello, like, subscribe, and YouTube, whatever, for the podcast too. So a couple of different ways.
Beautiful. Well, thank you very much for your time, Ed. It's been a pleasure, and good luck with everything in the future. Good luck with your move.
Yes, thank you.
I'm sure we'll do another podcast again in the future.
Yes, likewise. I'll get you on our show again too.
Cool. Nice one.
Thanks, John.
Take care.
Stay sober, everybody.
Thanks for listening, and if you've been affected by any of the issues discussed in the podcast, please see a range of mutual aid organisations in the show notes. Peace and love, and goodbye for now.